We have already introduced the notion of the absolute value function. For any real number x, we define the absolute value function or the modulus function. Mod of x or absolute value of x is given by x itself if x is non-negative, minus x, the additive inverse of x, I mean, if x is negative. This is how it is formally defined. In fact, it carries the seeds of geometry. Whenever you are looking at modulus function from R to R, it actually says how far away you are from the origin. Mod x stands for how far away from the origin. That is what it says. In fact, very nice properties comes very naturally on this. One can just see that this, if you are looking at this as a function, mod, I may write like this, as a function f like that, it works from R to R. In fact, it's non-negative, so I can just land upon 0 infinity. So you can treat this as a function, each x going to its modulus. That is how it stands. If I am putting 2, it is going to be 2 itself. If you are putting it minus half, you will be getting half, like that. So this function, as a function, if you are treating these absolute value functions, as I mentioned before, carries the seeds of geometry in the sense. So the what are the basic characteristics what you are expecting for the thing, or the properties you are looking for is, at least it's better to remember the following. It's a non-negative evaluation you are going to get. That is, the fundamental one is x is mod x function. Mod x, if you are looking at whether it is positive, negative, or 0, it is always going to be a non-negative evaluation. Moreover, if you are looking at mod x is 0, that is if and only if the point is exactly equal to 0. These are very easy consequences of the definition. And secondly, if you are interested, some kind of symmetry is happening. In the sense, if you look for additive inverse of any real number, the modulus is same as that of the real number. There is a symmetry it gives actually. X and minus x are situated on the equidistant from 0 origin. Now, finally, we have introduced the most important one, which is called triangle inequality, which says modulus of x plus y is less than or equal to mod x plus mod y. This is also very fundamental. Geometrically, that is, it is known as triangle inequality. It basically comes from geometry, the terminology. Once, see this whole notion, whenever you are looking at, see, for example, vectors and physical vectors, some experience we have already it in +2 days. So if you remember your +2 days in the plane geometry, a plane vector analysis, you have seen something on that. See, suppose you are looking at a vector. Vector is a quantity which actually possesses both magnitude as well as direction. So mod of this fellow actually gives you, mod of a vector actually gives the magnitude. In that sense, if you are working in two-dimensional situation, the plane. But obviously, I have to comment about, I just wanted to make some comments only. Mod x plus y is less than or equal to mod x plus mod y, how the terminology comes and all. If you are treating the plane vectors, for example, it actually gives the conditions how to form a triangle in geometry. Suppose you have a vector x, you have another vector y, right? Then you can add them, you will get the resultant like this. It is what is x plus y vector, right? So in this triangle formation, which is known from the geometry, that you just add up these two lengths, these two sides of the triangle. See, if you are treating all these are vectors, their magnitude is coincident with the absolute value function actually. So the length of these two sides, if I am adding together, that is what the right hand side says, it always exceeds than that of the first one, that is mod x plus y. This is how the terminology comes from the triangle inequality. It's a very fundamental inequality which you are always using it. Mod x plus y is less than or equal to mod x plus mod y for any two real numbers x and y. It's also nice to look at when this equality holds. That's a good exercise to look at. Anyway, there are variations for this or corollaries for this triangle inequality. Just we will discuss some of them. See, since this is for two real numbers we have talked about. Instead of that, you can go finitely, many finitely summing up, which I can say some n real numbers if I am looking at x1, x2 up to xn. I can just add them all together. Then I can think about the modulus. Then one can actually prove by induction mod x1 plus mod x2 plus etc. mod xn like this. So this can be inductively extended. So another property or impact of this inequalities in another fashion, if you are writing, one can look for mod x minus y too. If you are interested with mod x minus y, one can simply write it as x plus minus y inside. Apply triangle inequality, you will be getting mod x plus mod minus y. You have already seen the symmetry and all. So what you are going to get is mod x plus mod y. So this is another consequence of the triangle inequality. Mod x minus y is less than or equal to mod x plus mod. Another variation of triangle inequality is as follows. If you are looking at two real numbers, a as well as b, so one can form mod a and mod b. So this mod a and mod b, in fact, that is going to be less than, the difference is actually going to be less than or equal to mod a minus mod b. A little bit more one can say. In fact, you are taking the modulus, two sides you will get. Modulus of mod a minus mod b is going to be less than or equal to mod a minus mod b. That is another consequence of the fundamental triangle inequality, which we will try to discuss now. So this is what it says. Take any two real numbers, a and b, then mod of mod a minus mod b is going to be less than or equal to mod a minus b. So it's not at all complicated. Once you are exploding that modulus signature on the left, you will understand what exactly you have to do. So let us formally give the proof of this fellow. So how it goes is in the following manner. Just to rewrite a and b in the appropriate manners. Start with a. If I am writing a as a minus b plus b, for example, and I can just group it like this. Now just apply triangle inequality for this. So I will get modulus a, which is going to be the right hand side modulus, right? And obviously here I can apply triangle inequality for this x and y. This is my x and this is my y. So mod a, in this fashion, if I am writing, I'm going to get mod a minus b plus mod b here. This is what I'm going to get. One more step will give me mod a minus mod b. This is going to be at most mod a minus b. So this is one side I'm going to get. But that is not the full side. The other side is also given. Why I'm talking about other side is, it will be clear from the next couple of minutes. See, if I am rewriting the same fashion, instead of a, I can start with b here. So if I'm looking at b, I can rewrite again b minus a plus a. So once again applying the triangle inequality, I'm going to reach at mod b minus mod a. I will just reverse the thing, which is going to be less than or equal to mod b minus a. But remember, this mod b minus a is same as mod a minus b also. I can rewrite. So mod b minus mod a is going to be less than or equal to mod a minus b. Now multiply both sides of this inequality by minus 1. It reverses. So what I'm going to get is minus of mod a minus b is going to be less than or equal to negative of this left hand side. So negative of that left hand side is basically mod a minus mod b will be turn out. This is another inequality which I am going to use it. So these are the two parts I wanted to see. See, if I am looking at mod a minus b, mod a minus b is greater than or equal to this quantity, and minus of mod a minus b is less than or equal to this quantity. Now I can just remember how to explode the inequalities of the style, something like mod a less than or equal to c. Previously we have done. If c is a non-negative quantity, then I can simply write down this as mod minus c less than or equal to a, which is less than or equal to c. So it has two parts. Whenever c is a non-negative quantity, minus c less than or equal to a comes together with you as with a less than or equal to c. Combiningly, you can write in this version, mod a less than or equal to c, like that. So we can use, see, this is the first inequality, this is the second inequality. So here my a is actually this fellow. So mod a, this is my a, this situation. So mod a minus mod b is squeezed in between mod a minus b as well as minus mod a minus b. So instead of c, I can apply it here, mod a minus b. That is a non-negative quantity. So using that with 1 and 2, what it turns out to be, I hope it follows, because just combine them. That is, I'm going to get modulus minus mod a minus b is less than or equal to mod a minus mod b. That is from the second part, which is going to be less than or equal to, I use the first part, mod a minus b. This is what I'm trying to say. So this is some c minus c, use this factor, minus c less than or equal to some quantity here, which is less than or equal to plus c. So the modulus of the middle fellow, this is equivalent with modulus of middle fellow is mod a minus mod b. That is going to be less than or equal to the c part. C part is mod a minus b. That is what precisely the corollary says. So this is another variation of triangle inequality. In fact, it contains two parts. Whichever we want, we can use it profitably. So there are many variations of this kind of triangle inequalities. All these variations are well used in determining the geometry of the system. So we will try some simple exercises or examples for the time being. So let us look at one example. Here we are asked to find out or determine the set A. So I will look at that. See, determine the set A. So my A is containing all the real numbers such that modulus of 2x plus 3 is less than 7. So I have to determine it. So x is in here means I have to find out those x's for which mod 2x plus 3 is less than 7. But here I will use the known fact now. So what I know about previous, I know how to explore this. So this modulus of something is less than 7. This is equivalent with the whole quantity here is in between minus 7 and plus 7. So this is equivalent with minus 7 less than 2x plus 3, which is less than 7. But a moment's thought, I can just push minus 3 everywhere. So minus 3 minus 7 less than 2x, which is less than 7 minus 3. So altogether I am going to get minus 10 less than 2x less than 4. Enough. 1 by 2 is positive. Just to multiply all together. So I will be getting minus 5 less than x less than 2. So these are all equivalent, fellows. So if I want to write my a or rephrase my a in the very readable manner or understandable manner, all the x's I have to look at in between minus 5 and x 2. So this is precisely the set of all real numbers such that minus 5 less than x less than 2. Geometrically, if you am roughly marking it, somewhere I have minus 5 here, somewhere I have 2 here. So everything in between will come. That is what the set A is. Minus 5 and 2. So this kind of examples will give us some experience how we can profitably use triangle inequality. One more example we will try. 1 or 2 examples more we can try it now. Another example we will try in the same fashion is, okay. Let us determine the set B now. So I will write my B as those real numbers. By definition, I will write this notation. So set of all real numbers such that mod x minus 1 is less than mod x. Suppose I wanted to determine in a readable and understandable manner of this set. Obviously, see both sides, it's an inequality which contains both sides modulus. So if you are sitting with that, you have to partition it into different cases. You have to consider the points in between 0 and 1, less than 0, greater than or equal to 1, such like that. That is the direct way of attacking the problem. But this problem can be done much easier way too, because we have already seen some inequality, using some facts, something related with A and B. A is less than B. If I am taking non-negative real numbers, for example, my A and B are non-negative real numbers. A less than B or less than or equal to B also is fundamentally same as with A square less than B square. This immediately solves this problem well. How can I make use of that? See, I am considering those x's which satisfies this. So I am looking for mod x minus 1 less than mod x type of x. Just square it. This is equivalent. See, this is non-negative fellows, these fellows. So square it, that also behaves like this. So mod x minus 1 square is less than mod x square. I have to look at what are those x's in such a way. But now it is easy. Mod x square is simply x square. X minus 1 square is. So how can I make use of that? So this is something like mod x minus 1 square is coincides with that, less than x square. Squaring it, modulus will be disappearing. Now things are easy. The left side is actually a quadratic. X square minus 2x plus 1. That is less than x square. Simplifies very well. This goes off. So what I am going to get now is minus 2x plus 1 less than 0, which ideally says 1 is less than 2x, or equivalently 1 by 2 is less than x. So fundamentally I am looking at those real, these are all equivalent fellows. So fundamentally I am looking at those real numbers x, this fellow is going to be all x's, x is exceeding half. Geometrically, once again, I have to look at half here and everything beyond 1. That is what the set is. This is another application of the inequalities what we have discussed so far. So using this, one more example is also, I think, non-trivial, that we will do it now. That also we will look at. Here, we are asked to do the following. We are considering a function. So for each x, f of x is given by the rule 2x square plus 3x plus 1 divided with, it's a quotient, by 2x minus 1. But this is defined, this is by definition, it is given by the domain we are going to take in between 2 and 3. So all x's will vary from 2 to 3. Whenever it varies like that, f of x is defined like this. Now what is asked for is you have to determine a constant m, a real number m, for which if I am evaluating modulus of this function, it is this fellow, that has to be just dominated by that a real number, capital M. I have to find such an m. Not the optimal one I am asking. Some number m I need which satisfies this inequality. But remember, x can vary from 2 to 3. So to furnish this, see, this part actually stands for mod 2x square plus 3x plus 1 divided by mod 2x minus 1. But how can I attack? The numerator as well as denominator I have to treat separately. So this part I have to find something, some C1, something like that. Here, for this part, if I am getting something greater than or equal to some C2, I can just find out the reciprocal and do the same game. So I will try to do that. First attack on this part. So this gives me what? Modulus of numerator is 2x square plus 3x plus 1. Triangle inequality can be easily applied, which is less than or equal to what? Modulus of 2x square plus modulus of 3x plus 1. So, see, by the way, everything is in between 2 and 3. They are all non-negative, so I don't have to bother about these fellows. So what I'm going to get is, here it is 2x square plus 3x plus 1. Now remember, x is varying from 2 to 3. So in this right hand side, if I am looking at, x can go up to 3. The maximum evaluations are given here. So I will make use of that. X is at most, mod x is at most going to be 3. So I can simply apply it here. So what I'm going to get here is, which is dominated. I can write less than or equal to 2 into, I can see, just put 3 here. So 3 square plus 3 into 3 plus 1. At most that can be taken. So 9 plus, so what will come? 9 into 2 plus 9 plus 1, that comes as 28. So numerator can go at most 28. Can't go beyond that. What about the denominator part that you have to look at? So to attack on the denominator part, I have to consider actually 1 by 2x minus 1. That is enough. So why don't we use the variations of triangle inequality? Because 2x minus 1 is a difference that we have seen that mod a minus b is greater than or equal to mod a minus mod b. So mod 2x minus mod 1. Basically, now I can look at something here. So if I want, I can write like this. This mod x, if I am looking at, x is in between 2 and 3. So a difference I am making it here. So mod x is greater than or equal to 2. For this, see what I am going to do now is, x can start 2. So if I am making it here, I can make, see, if I am putting 2 here on the right hand side for x, what happens is still there is a minimal level it goes on. So once again I can diminish it 2 into 2 minus 1, because x can start its values from 2 only. So that optimal value, if I am giving 2 here, the difference further goes down, right? So what I am going to get is mod 2x minus 1 is greater than or equal to 2 into 2 minus 1, which means 3. But that is actually I'm dealing the denominator. So I can look for reciprocals now. A is greater than or equal to b now. So I can just, for 1 by a business, what I'm going to get is 1 by 2x minus 1, if I'm looking at, right? That is going to be less than or equal to 1 by 3. These two things, I can push it here. So what will happen here? Already I have seen the numerator, this is less than or equal to 28. So this fellow whole together is going to be less than or equal to, this part can be dominated by 28 by 3, 1 by 3 also I can put it here. So the entire f of x, that is what the whole moral now. Moral of the story is like this. So if I am looking at my modulus of f of x, modulus of this fellow is going to be less than or equal to 28 by 3. So I was able to find out some m for which all the f of x value is under that. But I'm not saying that 28 by 3 is the optimal value, but at least one value we can find out like that. So this kind of exercises will allow us how we can go along with the triangle inequality and its consequences and further manipulations of inequalities and all. So once again, we will come back to the important function which is given by the modulus function. As I mentioned earlier, it modulus function or absolute value function contains the seeds of geometry, I can say, actually the distance, the notion of the distance. If I am taking two real numbers, the real line geometrically is this fellow, and if I am taking x somewhere and y somewhere, the distance from x to y, that is what is given through mod x minus y. This is what one can experience it very easily. One can look at. See, if I am looking at the real line very specifically, suppose I have 0 somewhere here, 1, 2, 3 or somewhere here. If I am looking at 2, even here I may write minus 1. If I am looking at minus 1 to 2, so this is my x, this fellow is my y, and try to find out mod x minus y, what it stands for, is going to be modulus of minus 1 minus y. Y is 2 here. So which actually gives me 3. 3 units are there. So it is giving the distance from x to y. So use this notion to define the neighborhood concept. That is what you are trying to look at now. So how to give that notion? See, the whole idea is something like this. Suppose I'm looking at the real numbers. I'll just mark 1, 2, 3 here, or 1, 2, 3, 4 I here. Now concentrate on 2, the point 2. Suppose I am interested whole real numbers which are 1 unit away from 2, which means I can just move from right up to 3. So all these points will satisfy that. What I am trying to look at is, I may take an x here, that x and my 2 is going to have less than 1 unit. Not only on that side, I can go for the reverse direction also up to this. So if I am searching for those points or those real numbers x in R such that x mod x minus 2 is less than 1, I will just find out all the points. I can just take any candidate from here to here. So I can vary from anywhere here. That is what I'm saying, trying to say that if I'm looking at those points x in R and it satisfies mod x minus 2 less than 1, precisely I am working inside this. So nearing points to 2, in fact I can say centering at 2 with the distance 1 unit, and that is usually called radius. So this allows me to define a new terminology. I will call that this set as the neighborhood of 2 with radius 2, I can say, or 2 radius neighborhood, or 1 neighborhood of 2, all such things you can say. So how will you write this? I will use the notation V1, 2, which says that I am centering at 2. 2 is fixed here. I am going the distance about 1 to the right, to the left. See, instead of this 1, if I am trying to look at V2 half, which means instead of this 1 unit, I have to move only half unit here. So I will be getting 2 plus a half at most. So this is 2 plus a half. This is 2 minus half. So in between that. That is what is the meaning of V2 half. So this stands for those real numbers in such that modulus of my x minus 2 is up to half. So this is basically the neighborhood of centering at 2 actually. It is neighborhood of 2 with radius half, or half neighborhood of 2, you can say like that. So formally, how can you define? In abstract manner, if you are interested, you look at any point A. Fix any point anywhere, and some positive real number is given. Then one can formally define as V epsilon A. We can write V epsilon A, called the neighborhood of A, or epsilon neighborhood of A, I can say, which is going to given by the set of all x in R for which mod x minus A is less than epsilon. So from the experience of the previous statements or sentences, remember what this set consists of. So I will be concentrating on centering at A, then I will move up to epsilon to the right as well as the left. So some distance I have to cover through the right, maybe this one, this my epsilon distance. So I may consider any x here and I can go up to that. So the right hand side I can move up to here. Similarly, the distance only I am looking at, so I can have all freedom to the left hand side also. I will move symmetrically to the a minus epsilon part also. So anything in between I can look at. So all points is also an epsilon value. I can in between a minus epsilon and a plus epsilon, if I am considering those x's in between, that set, precisely that set is the epsilon neighborhood of A. In fact, it centers at A and you are going symmetrically to the right as well as left with epsilon units. That is what the meaning of epsilon neighborhood of A. So exploring this, it's clear because epsilon is a positive quantity. So mod x minus A is less than epsilon is equivalent with minus epsilon less than x minus a less than epsilon. That is how we will explore this, or we will be free from this model signature to inequality. The next step, obviously, by pushing a everywhere, a minus epsilon less than x less than a plus epsilon. That is what precisely geometrically it says. So everything in between that. That is what the epsilon neighborhood of a point A, obviously with a radius. I am using the radius just because of that. See, once you are these whole ideas in the real number system, whenever you are speaking to the plane, most of these things come along with us. At that time, it will be more sound and the terminology will be more nice. And why I am using radius and all. And for the time being, it is enough. You are just saying any epsilon is given, epsilon neighborhood of A. So A center it, just move right and left with A up to the distance A. That is what it precisely says. So this notion allows us to define the neighborhoods, the epsilon neighborhood of A, and the notations also should be clear, be epsilon A in this situation. Now let us just see, all these notions are leading us towards how to geometry and the algebraic structure can be, talked in between how they are behaving and analysis how it follows later. So we need a little bit more structures on the real number system. We are trying to look at the boundedness now. We are trying to define how that idea can be implemented. So just look at the definition. I'm just looking at a subset S, which is going to be a non-empty subset of R. The first definition says, this S, I'm going to say that it is a bounded above set. If I'm getting a real number u such that S is less than or equal to u for all S is in S. So what does it say? Okay, let us look at a specific. So just I am concentrating on the first part. See, for example, if I am looking at minus 1, this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3 again. My set is everything in between minus 1 and 3. So I may just write my set as set of all real numbers such that minus 1 is strictly less than x, which is strictly less than 3. So everything here, this part I am going to use it. This is my S. So if I am checking whether this S is bounded above, how can I check? I have to find a real number u in R such that every member from S will be less than or equal to that u. That should happen for every S in S. Then I can say that it is a bounded above set. Actually, it says that bounded from the above part. See, whenever I am writing S in this picture, aboveness means the right hand side. Anything bigger here will occur on the right side of 3. So if I am just, for example, taking 4 here or 5 here, whatever it may, I can take u as 4. Then what happens? Everything inside the set here, yes, will obey that S is less than or equal to u. So I can take 4 if you want. Once I am taking 4, anything bigger than that, I can take it. 4.5 is also can be used well to say this statement. So in that case, see, the second statement is each such number u is called an upper bound. So look at my set, this is my set. Then 4 is an upper bound for my S. Not only 4, anything bigger than obviously satisfies that. Even 3.1 I can take, no problem. It's also going to be an upper bound. So the whole set is, I can say that it is a bounded, I can write the abbreviations, bounded above set, bounded from the above. So I'm able to find out some real number u, at least one real number u, such that any point if you are looking at S, it won't exceed that. That is what it says, nothing more than that. You can't beyond that. So from the upper side, for the right hand side, it is blocked. That is what it says. But obviously look at 3. 3 is not a member in my S. 3 is also an upper bound. But some specialities are there for 3. Remember, you can't just tilt left to left than 3. 3 is an upper bound. Anything bigger than 3 is also going to be an upper bound. But nothing smaller than 3, smaller than 3 is not going to be an upper bound. That is important. We will cast them using a special name for that. We just name them as later, that is least of all upper bounds and so on. So that we'll look at later. So at least upper bound, a bounded above set and an upper bound is given here. In this set, very similarly, one can think about bounded from below side. So look at any number less than -1 is going to be a lower bound. I'm going to call that fellows are lower bound. Very similar definitions. The second definition you look at, it says that a set is said to be bounded below if there exists a real number w such that w is less than or equal to S for every S in S. So just I am taking the other side. So dual concept of that. So this set is bounded below if I am able to find something. See, -2 I can take in this case as a lower bound, or -1 itself I can take, but nothing greater than -1 I can do. So this is going to be a lower bound. Anything smaller than obviously going to be a lower bound, but nothing greater than this -1 is going to be a lower bound for this set. Yes. So next definition is almost straightforward. Once you are able to find out bounded above notion as well as bounded below notion, a set is said to be bounded if it is having bounded from above as well as below. Then upper bounds are existing as well as lower bounds are existing. If you are missing that, you just say that it is an unbounded. That is, a set is said to be unbounded if it is not bounded. That's all. So all these notions you have to be master well. Any non-empty set, if you are able to find out some u, a real number, which you can take that all the members of S is dominated by that fellow, then set is bounded above, such a u is an upper bound. Very analogous idea, push it to the second left part, I mean bounded below part as well as lower bounds. Define boundedness using that. Something is not bounded, you call that is an unbounded. Okay. So we will next time we will just try to look at, see, in this particular situation 3 as well as -1 are important. 3 is an upper bound for our set, but nothing smaller than that is not going to be. Similarly, -1 is a lower bound for the set. Nothing greater than that also is going to be a lower bound for the set. So we will discuss that in the next time.